Get 5 coffins ready.
In SMITE, the soul lane is all about out-farming while also out-rotating your lane opponent, so you have to strike a balance between getting all the farm you can on the soul side of the map while recognizing good moments to rotate to the mid lane or teleport to the duo side of the map. So, you need a character who can push waves effectively, like with the mid lane last time, but also have the tools necessary to take head-on trades with the other soul laner so you can win the battle for farm on that side of the map, things like totem, cooldown buff, and blue buff. But also later on in the match, still have an impact when faced with the entire enemy team instead of just one of them. One character that makes all this extremely easy is Nike. I mean, I like Nike and all, nice lady, but damn, is she easy. That came out wrong. But seriously, if you want a character who clears waves for free, pokes out lane opponents endlessly, and cannot die to ganks, it's Nike. You press 1, do more damage than any soul laner other than a mage can trade back, and in response, there's not a whole lot they can do. Her 2 is definitely weird and won't be easy to grasp as a new player, but luckily it's something you can keep in reserve until you're more comfortable with Nike. Pro tip, just detonate it immediately in their face. For the most part, just to get yourself suited in the soul lane, you can just chill back, clear waves, and or poke with your first ability, and leap onto enemies and ult them when you think you can kill them. Or when you think you're the one who's about to get killed, simply leap away and ult if you have to. It makes it almost impossible for Nike to die one-on-one, and very difficult to gank to boot. And also, the same little leap ultimate combo gives you a free way to be effective later on in fights. You just spread this very difficult to land ultimate on at least one backliner, and it almost always forces out the purification beats or at the very least a movement ability. From there, you slam your first ability and basic attacks onto the heads of anyone who is affected by your ultimate, and you've done your duty. Nike's extra range with her first ability really cements her as an excellent choice for new players. That mixed with having a leap, the best type of movement ability, as well as a big old shield for safety means it's very hard to die and very hard to not deal damage as this character, and bare minimum, scrape by in the soul lane farm-wise if not get a lead through sheer ease of play. Nike is an ability-based warrior though, so she can fall behind damage-wise when compared to the current crop of mage soul laners, as well as struggle to match the damage of mages and hunters in the late game. For honorable mention here, I wanted to put Chalk. Chalk is basically 1-2, the guy. He clears lanes like no tomorrow, he survives ganks well too, and his ultimate is basically like Nike's on crack. An impossible to miss AoE attack that makes Chalk CC immune and knocks up all enemies. It's crazy, right? Well, yeah it is, except Chalk on the whole sucks. I don't know if I just didn't download the part of the patch that buffed Chalk or something, but this god sucks. His heal doesn't do anything at any stage of the game, his 1-2 combo falls off harder than Travis Scott, the guy has a blink ultimate and that is it. Chalk has a little bit of everything, and I think that's his biggest issue right now. He has a high damaging combo, but it's not as damaging as the hardest hitting warriors like Surtur, Kukulkan, or King Arthur. He has mobility, but it's not nearly as mobile as the most mobile warriors like Horus, Amaterasu, or Gilgamesh. He has a heal, but it's completely terrible. He can chase down squishies with his 3, but he's terrible at it compared to proper chase down warriors like Osiris, or Longshan, or Bellona. Chalk is easy, that is his only marketable trait, so on paper he should be a shoo-in for this list, but I'm trying to equip people with gods who'll be easy to start with, and then can be translated to still being good once they're against more seasoned players. Chalk has been good like once or twice in the past 5 years, he's really not worth anyone's time to learn unless you're really struggling with the solo lane. And that's my rant over. Someone who's a little more skill expressive but is far more consistently valuable to a team than Chalk or Nike is Tyr. Now Tyr is a stance switcher, but luckily unlike Merlin last time, it's a nice and simple stance switch between one or another via a single stance switch ability. And even better, Tyr has an ultimate as well, unlike most stance switchers, so he still feels like a more quote-unquote normal god despite being a stance switcher. Even better though is that Tyr technically has 6 abilities, but they all function almost exactly the same, so he basically just has 3 abilities. And each stance has the same super simple but effective combo. 1-2. That is all. 1-2 in red stance to deal a billion damage and heavily CC a target, or 1-2 in blue stance for some poke and a heal. And oh yeah, a heal. Take notes, Chalk, this is what an actual heal looks like. And you see, this is where the joy of Tyr comes in, a lot like Giannis last time. When you're new to the character, the game plan is clear. 1-2 the wave in red stance, and then blue stance 2 to heal off the wave. That is it. You will clear every single wave expeditiously and feel like a brick wall of knockback to your opponent. Then, you can slowly become more advanced with him in the laning phase. It really becomes second nature knowing when you can and cannot be aggressive with your dashes. And again, it's not like you have to take initiative on Tyr during the laning phase. You can just one-shot every single wave, heal back anything the enemy lane opponent throws on you, and that's that. Really the difficulty with Tyr only comes with the classic Blink 180 dash. This is the classic Tyr combo, but new players, they're not doing that. But the thing is, especially at lower levels, it's totally fine just to ult and push instead. If you're a new player, I'm about to throw a lot at you. But basically, the reason you want to blink push his Tyr is to make it harder to react to, and also so that the enemy team is basically forced to use the relic purification beats to get out of that push, not just use a CC immune ultimate in response to your ultimate. But again, a lot of that is betting on your opponents having a higher skill level too. So you being a new player, you really just need to focus on getting that far easier ultimate and push combo on a backliner, and you're good to go. You will have an impact in fights so long as you're willing to get in there with your ultimate and not just rely on it for safety. One way to ensure you're able to brawl with enemy lane opponents and keep backliners in check come late game is by playing an attack speed based warrior instead, such as Bellona. Bellona is a classic warrior of SMITE at this point, focused on slapping lots and lots of times over and over again. Her weird basic attack chain progression on each weapon may stick out at first as something that would be hard to grasp for a new player, but it really isn't. You see, your 2 gives you these big AoE basic attacks to help you clear, your 1 makes you slap really fast, and your 3 heals you. It's really not too complicated. And from there, that's all Bellona is, one big slap fest. There really is nothing to this character other than choosing the best ability to use to get the best form of your basic attacks possible, and then you hold down left click. And the decisions here aren't exactly hard. Are you clearing the wave? Use your 2. Fighting an enemy god? Use your 1. Trying to heal? Use your 3 on the wave. And just like with Nike, Bellona has a great tool that doubles as an easy way to have an impact in fights and survive ganks, her ultimate. I'm getting ganked, I'm so scared. Ultimate, see you later. Now of course, Bellona is known for her massive outplays and 1v2ing when in the right matchups, but more importantly, in the right hands. So as a new player, you can focus mostly on just abusing her strong laning phase without much thought. And speaking of not much thought, in the late game during teamfights, it really all just comes down to using your ultimate on a backliner and then hitting people, like a lot. Naturally, there's things such as getting multi-man bludgeons and disarming key targets with your 3rd ability in late game teamfights, but this is usually secondary to just holding left click on people's faces. That does require a good amount of confidence from you as the Bellona player though, so that's definitely one thing Bellona will teach you, because as any tank in the game, you're going to need to get into the enemy backline and get your hands dirty, and since it's something that's required of Bellona, you have no choice but to learn how to do that without dying. But as with Poseidon last time, that does mean that you're going to have to die. Not as much as Poseidon of course, because you're a tank, but still. So there you have it, an extremely easy and safe god to get yourself nice and comfortable with in the role, a god who can get you by in any laning phase in the game with a reliable and skill-expressive combo to execute in the late game, and finally, a more chase-down and trade-oriented god to get you more comfortable with really knuckling down and taking some damage for your team. The Soul Lane isn't at its best right now in Season 10, but it's definitely still a role worth learning, as it's always satisfying to win a proper 1v1 and control an entire side of the map all by yourself. And in my view, there's no easier way to get accustomed to the role than by learning these 3 goobers. So join me next time when we cross the pond and take a look at 3 ADCs who are very good when you're first starting out. And thanks for watching. I mean, I like Nike and all, nice lady, but damn, is she easy. That came out wrong. Just like me at that bowling party. For the record, I think a lot of this just stems from his first ability being so slow to either get your teleport or your AoE slow going. I mean seriously, I'm having kids, my wife leaves me, she takes the kids, I get married again, and then she leaves me. Oh, the axe landed.